Hello everyone. In today's video, I will be going over the surface area and volume formulas for a pyramid. So first, let's start with the surface area formula. Surface area equals B plus 1/2 PL, where B is the area of the base, P is the perimeter of the base, and L is the slant height. If you look at the picture here, I think it does a really good job of showing you the difference between just regular height and slant height. What we are used to as just neurotypical height is a vertical distance from the top of the pyramid all the way to the base, whereas slant height goes along the outside, and so it's kind of a diagonal, if you will, since it can't measure perfectly straight from the outside. Next, we have volume. Volume V equals BH over 3. B is still area of the base, and H is just the height. Let's take a look at an example together. So when you're doing this, since you have to do a little bit of work before you can start plugging numbers in, I recommend you start by finding B, P, L, and H first. So I went ahead and wrote those out here. So we need to figure these out, then we will use the formulas. So B is the area of the base. Now the base depends on what type of pyramid you have. Here we have a square pyramid, meaning the base is a square. You can also have the base be a rectangle, or you'll sometimes see a triangle as well. In this class, we'll focus on square and rectangular pyramids. Since this one is a square, we just multiply two of the sides together. It's like length times width, but really it's just side times side since they are the same. So we have 8 times 8, which is 64. P, perimeter of the base, we add all of the sides together. There are 4, and they are all 8. 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8, otherwise known as 8 times 4, is 32. L is the slant height. We can see that is 10 in this example. H. If you look closely at the picture, you will notice we do not have an H. So let's draw one in there. Remember, H goes from the top of the pyramid all the way down to the base. There are many assumptions that we are allowed to make here. First off, when we drop this down, it is perfectly straight and actually has to be perpendicular to the base. Therefore, we can draw a right angle here, just like the one in the figure. 2. We are allowed to assume that this is going to touch down on the direct center of the base. So when I draw the distance from that point to one of the edges, this length here is going to be half of this side. Since this side is 8, half is going to make this 4. And you can see we're making a right triangle here. We know that the hypotenuse is 10. This is the hypotenuse since it's across from the 90-degree angle. The short leg is 4, and the long leg, which is H, we do not know. In order to find our missing side, we are going to use Pythagorean theorem. Reminder, Pythagorean theorem is leg squared plus leg squared equals hip squared, otherwise known as the hypotenuse. As I've already pointed out, the hypotenuse is 10. You will want to put this number in first, because if the hypotenuse is correct, then the legs will for sure be correct. So then 4 and H are going to go in for legs. 4 squared plus H squared. And then we solve. First thing we need to do is evaluate the exponents. So we're going to square these numbers. 4 squared is 16. H squared is still H squared. 10 squared is 100. Oops. Just 16, not 16 squared, that is my bad. Next, we need to move the 16, so we'll subtract it on both sides. This cancels. H squared equals 84. And then we will take the square root on both sides. Don't forget about that step because this is H squared and we want just H. That gives us H equals the square root of 84. From here, you can leave it like this, or you can make it into a decimal. There are reasons to go either direction. I'm going to choose to make this into a decimal, but you are perfectly fine to leave it as a square root. That is a personal choice. So the square root of 84 if we round this to the nearest tenth, that gives us 9.2. Now that we have found all of our variables, we can put them into their formulas and get our answers. Starting with surface area. SA equals B plus 1/2 PL. Remember, it's good to start with the basic formulas first and then plug in your numbers. B is 64 plus 1/2 times P, which is 32. So I meant to put boxes around these once I found them to make them easier to spot. 32. L is 10. Simplifying, we have 64 plus, this is just multiplication here, and you can multiply these three in any order. The easiest order for me to do, half of 32 is 16. 16 times 10 is 160. One more time, we're going to add these together to give us 224. And since this is surface area, my units are inches squared. Lastly, we just need to find the volume. V equals VH over 3. V equals B is 64 times H is 9.2 over 3. This is not going to be pretty if I try to simplify first, so I'm going straight for the calculator on this one. Make sure you use parentheses. It's always a good call to do that. 64 times 9.2 and divide that by 3. And if we round to the nearest tenth, we get 196.3. And since this is volume, my units are inches cubed. Okay, that is all for the surface area and volume formulas for a pyramid, specifically a square pyramid. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to me either via email or in person. Otherwise, I will see you all later. Bye!